What did you like best about Sunday school?
I remember Vacation Bible School more than I remember Sunday school, except for one Sunday school teacher because we had him for, I think, 3 years.
I do remember that one of my Sunday school teachers was a guy named Richard Wells, and I have a Bible at home presented to me, my first Bible, by Dick Wells, and I still have it.
My favorite thing about Sunday school is about spending time with all my friends.
It's fun being with everyone.
The crafts. Interacting with people and learning about God.
The crafts and when we talk about different needs about people.
I like to do crafts at Sunday school. I like learning and doing crafts and stuff.
My favorite thing about Sunday school is that I get to be with my friends and I get to learn about God.
What did you do when you were in Sunday school?
One of the things I seem to remember from Sunday school is we would try to memorize either a phrase or maybe the 10 Commandments, and then we got a pencil that had the 10 Commandments on it.
I learned how Jesus can bless people and stuff. I learned about that God, he teaches somebody something, he wants them to pass it on and teach other people.
To be kind to everyone and help people who are in need all the time.
So the kind of things that I'm learning in Sunday school is what the Good Samaritan did, like why people shouldn't have just walked by, and we're learning about the differences between our Christmas and the first Christmas. We're learning about Jesus' baptism too.
So remember the pins we used to get?
You have yours. I don't have mine.
I'm
Look
sure
at this.
I know you always had more than, you were a couple years ahead of me,
Oh my gosh.
but you always had more than I did.
This is what we earned each year. You started with a round pin,
Yep, you
like
started with
this.
the round one,
and
and you
then
had a wreath.
a
Lay 'em
wreath.
out.
That's right. Look at that.
Wait a minute, lay them out, you can take a picture of them. When you had perfect attendance at Sunday school, at the end of the year, you would get a pin. And it'd start with a center pin, and then a Ruth, and then third, fourth, whatever. And Ellen was a couple years ahead of me, so she always had more than me. But the thing I remember is we used to go to my aunt and uncle's in Mansfield, Mass. a lot.
Okay.
And of course I would miss Sunday school here. So I had to make sure I had to go to Sunday school there, and I had to get a written note that I was attending Sunday school so that I could get credit for my pin.
Oh, it was a competition, to see who could get the most pins. I had the advantage of being older, so
You started earlier?
I started earlier, and then they stopped the process.
I thought I would start in teaching again. So I took a first grade class, and I had the first class that they had, and the children, when I walked in the Sunday school room, were jumping over chairs. And I thought, wow, what did I get into? And then I realized they were so exuberant to be in this brand new building, their first Sunday here. And everything was so clean and nice. And I thought, well, I guess maybe I could handle this.
Another memory that I have is that my sister, Nancy, who was 8 years younger than I, was not able to go to Sunday school here in this church building. She had to go to Sunday school, and I think it was on a Saturday, at the old Methodist church building down the street a couple of blocks.
Was there any children's music? I sing in the choir. Did you sing in the choir when you guys were little?
Yes, as soon as I could sing in the choir, I was singing in the choir. I sang in what was called the cherub choir then. That was for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. And as soon as I could join the youth choir, which was for us 5th grade, I joined the youth choir.
And when I got to be the 7th grade, our church would let me sing in the adult choir because our church was not big enough to have a youth choir.
I can remember as a teenager having to try out for the choir, and if you know my voice, this is very interesting for people that know me, and I actually made it.
What was your favorite hymn? My favorite song is the Lord's Prayer.
One of them was Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and the other one that I really liked was Rise and Shine, Give God Your Glory, Glory.
My favorite song is I Like to Be a Sheep.
I just wanna be a sheep, ba 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 ba. I just wanna be a sheep, ba 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 ba. I praise the Lord, my soul to keep. I just wanna be a sheep, ba 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 ba.
How did you picture God when you were a little child? What did God look like in your brain when you were a child?
I don't know how I pictured God as a child. I don't remember really thinking about it. Now I just see that God is a part of everything.
A nice person.
Like a really tall person like the size of the church with a huge beard.
God is, he created Earth. I would say he was this guy that was very nice and he forgives us.
I don't recall a lot of discussion about who God was or what God did as a child and so on. I mean, I have a picture of God who is a loving individual who welcomes people into his realm and hopefully will welcome me into his realm when the appropriate time arrives.
I picture God as a loving spirit and a helping hand to whenever you're in need.
I actually picture God as like my mom or someone that I'm close to because like he's inside of them and he's with me all the time.
Hi, my name is Liz Kuchta and I'm the historian for the Niantic Community Church. I've been asked to tell you what it might be like 300 years ago to attend church, and it certainly was a lot different back there than it is now. In those days, you were not able to do anything on Sunday. So in order to prepare for Sunday, if you wanted to have a meal, it had to be cooked the day before because you could not do anything in the evening after sunset on Saturday until after sunset on Sunday. You were supposed to be in a reflective mood of your life. People would get up first thing on Sunday morning in this area to make the trek all the way over to Lyme to attend church. Now that's about 9 miles. You have to remember there were no automobiles, so if you were lucky enough to have a buggy or possibly an ox cart, you would be riding in that to get there. If not, you would walk. So it was quite a trek to get there. So in 1719, the people decided they wanted to set up their own church here so they would not have to travel so far. And that's when the first church here in this area was built. Now you would get up and go to church. It was an all-day affair. So you would go to services in the morning, you would take a break, and you had brought your own lunch from the day before, and either go to a neighbor's house, or some places they had small buildings which were called Sabbath houses, and you would go there to eat. Now in the winter, it could be quite cold because none of the churches were heated back then. So not only did you bring yourself and your lunch, but in the winter you had to bring blankets and coverings so that as you sat in church all day, you could stay warm. And children were supposed to sit through all of these services and be quiet and not speak the whole time, but listen to what the minister had to say. So it was a very, very long day for people, but that was their way of life, was to be there and be worshipable in church and listen to what the minister had to say. And most of them could talk for a very long time about any subject. And then you needed to turn around and come back the 9 miles home again. Now I've brought a couple things to show you of some of the things that were used.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. What is? That's why I didn't take that one. It's so confusing.
You put it that way.
Is it part of the pew?
The church pews had no cushions, and they were very, very hard, just like ours were, but you had to sit there for hours on end. Now, some people would make something similar to this, which was called an armrest, so they could put it next to them and be able to lean on it and sort of rest during the service.
That looks like a
Candle holder.
As I mentioned, it could be cold. So sometimes what the women would bring is what was called a foot warmer. And it was basically a box similar to this. And when they got there, they would go to the neighbor's house. They would take coals and put the coals from the fire into here, cover it up, and then they could put it on the floor and put their skirts over it to keep warm.
It's an hourglass, and maybe they like timed like things, and they had like games.
And when they got up to speak, they would turn it over, and you would sit there and watch the sand come down, knowing that when it finally reached the hour point, the minister might take a breath and take a break where you could rest for a second before he flipped it over again and started talking again.
Maybe it was used for like, I don't know, like a handkerchief or something.
For Sunday school?
Yeah, like a doll or something, maybe.
Sometimes a young child might get a little fussy, and trying to appease the child, mother would take her handkerchief and sort of make a little doll out of it, so the young child would have something to play with. And it was very quiet. If they dropped it on the floor, no one would hear.
Today I'm going to be comparing my Bible that I got this year as a third grader and this old Bible from 1845. The words in this one are bigger than the words in this one. I can barely even read that. But one thing they both have in common is that they both show God's love to us.
Every home had a Bible. And in many cases, this was the only book that you had in your house. And children would learn to read from reading the Bible.
What is a typical Sunday like for you and your family?
Our house was about 2 blocks from church, so I would get up and walk to church for Sunday school. And then when Sunday school was over with, I would join my mom in the sanctuary to go through the church service, and then we would walk home together and we'd have Sunday dinner. And usually my father wasn't there because he often worked on Sunday, but if he was there, he would be in church when I got there too.
But typically on Sunday, I can remember getting up in the morning, getting dressed, my mother making sure we were dressed appropriately, because she was really picky about wrinkles and stuff, and she'll probably kill me when she sees that. But getting up, getting ready, coming for rehearsal before church. We would go to church, either Sunday school or to church itself, and a lot of times we would get to stop at a bakery on the way home, or we would stop and pick up things and make French bread pizza at home. That was the best. In the evenings, we would come back to church because confirmation class was in the evening, and we would go from confirmation class to youth fellowship.
I remember coming to church and doing Sunday school and going to a service. As far as the rest of the day, I'm sure it's just like today.
Except back then, I can remember you did a big meal after church, the roast with the potatoes and carrots around it, and you sat down for a big meal.
Right? Yeah.
We wake up, go to church, and then we come home and either like plan out our week, or we go like if we have any games for soccer or anything like that.
Sometimes I have some sports to do.
Probably church, then middle school fellowship till 12, and then we probably do 2 or 3 errands, and then we come home, have lunch, probably go outside if we don't have an activity, and then it's off to gymnastics 3 to 7, and then dinner.
What was your favorite thing about church? The songs.
And I remember going to worship in that building. And again, my feeling was it was small, but it was jam-packed with loving people who were all one family.
Probably having everyone sing together. It makes me feel like God is really with us when we sing, because it feels connected and together.
Well, my favorite thing about church as a kid was just to get to sit with Mom. I think now my favorite thing about church is singing in the choir and Bible study.
My favorite thing is going on mission trips and like getting to grow closer to God and the people that come to church.
It was an amazing experience. I got closer to everyone, especially the teachers, and I just felt that God was with us every step of the way.
I like when we get to do the choir.
I always felt really comfortable here because no matter where I turned, there was always somebody friendly.
I think my favorite thing about church when I was a kid was singing in the choir. My favorite thing about church now, there's many things. I like coming and making music with everybody. I like seeing people who I've known for a really long time that have known me since I was, I think I started coming here when I was 5. So, seeing all the youth become involved in things, there's just so many things, and just being just a real spiritual place.
My favorite thing about church is just being around other people who worship God and who really think about the Holy Spirit.
Church makes my day. I mean, if I don't go to church, I generally have kind of a crummy day, and the week starts off crummy. I mean, the church it's very important to me. It's very important to be here and to participate.